The altcoins behind me are literally losing you money every single day. So before you guys go ahead and buy any of these coins, I need you to remember something very important. I want you to watch this video and understand how literally your tokens are being vanished away right before your very eyes. And if you don't do something about it, i.e. what I'm going to explain to you in this video, I'm going to show you how much you'll actually end up losing over the next 2 and 7 years, aka the next few bull markets, okay? Let's break it down in nice, simple terms, and ultimately you can just carry across all this information into every other single cryptocurrency you own. It's critical in this industry. You understand this. Let's get straight into it, guys. So the first thing is, and this is kind of where it all stems from, right, is your profits are being eaten alive by a word called inflation. I know, economics, how boring, how disgusting. Let me explain to you and why it's so important for cryptocurrencies, because a lot of them do have inflations and it does vary. I see all the time down below. People reach out to me or they comment out of concern saying, hey, the inflation is X amount on this project. That's really bad. Stay away. They don't factor in the multiple other variables that actually support that reasoning, okay? So let's break it down. Let's start with Solana, for example. Solana is actually great because they have only a currently 5% inflation rate. It was 8%. It does diminish by 15% on top of this every single year, and it's going to diminish right down to 1.5% in about 2031. So it takes about 15, 16 years to do that from the genesis, from the launch. And from there, it's going to be 1.5% onwards, which I've given a dark green, symbolizing that's very, very good because inflation is actually healthy for a network. No inflation isn't healthy, okay? We have POLKADOT over here at 10% year on year forever, okay? Now, this can change in governance. Most of these things can, okay? But we'll take it at face value. We have Near Protocol over here at 5%. That's actually good. That's nice and low. We also have CSPR Network over here at yellow. This is 8%. Yellow is obviously average. It's neither here nor there. And over here, Cosmos. This is a really unique one. This depends on how much is actually staked in the network itself. And that goes right from a low of 7, which is average, right up to a maximum of 20%. And it's up on the high side right now. Again, it is a variable rate, okay? So you cannot be ignorant, right? If you're listening to this going, oh, I'm going to give this guy 30 more seconds to get his point across, otherwise I'm leaving. I'm serious. You are the person, my friend, who really needs to absorb this information, because chances are you're one of the people that say, oh, you know, if I can't see it, it's not hurting me. That's a very toxic trait, and especially when it comes to your hard-earned dosh. Let me explain to you exactly how much that's hurting you, right? So let's use CSPR. Now I'm using CSPR because it's the baseline example. They don't have any burn rates. There's nothing crazy. It's just a static 8% year-on-year inflation rate. Again, this can obviously change depending on any governance proposals in future, just like every single one of these and any other cryptocurrency out there, right? Basically. So if we started today at $10,000, the first thing we're going to have to do is consider a variable, or variables are going to have to stick the same, okay? The first one is the market cap. The market cap must remain 440 million in my example. Otherwise, it's just going to be unfathomable to try to get an accurate, diminishing return. So we have to keep that the same. That's standard, but I just thought I'd point that out. Also, the circulating supply, I'm not starting with the maximum, the initial distribution. I'm starting with the existing current 2-day circulating supply, okay? That's all very typical standard stuff. So if we started with $10,000 and invested that in 2025, 2 years, we'd actually lose about $500. Big whoop, who really cares? Well, we fast forward to 2030 and look how much money we have lost, right? That's heaps. In 7 years, I guess that is quite a lot. Most of us won't be holding for 7 years, but you armchair investors definitely will be. And so therefore, do you really want to have any of your tokens diminished? No, okay? We're going to get to where I'm sort of coming out in just a second. As I said, 8% year on year. I'd like to briefly interrupt and just say, if you are liking the video so far, if I am providing you value, to please take the time to just quickly like the video. And also, if you really do enjoy what I say and my content in general, please hit the subscribe button. I post a video every single day, and there is 2 videos a day coming very soon. Thank you so much. Back to the video. Now, Cosmos is my other quick example in this case, because Cosmos, as I said, has a variable rate between 7 to 20% year on year, as you can see down here. Again, it depends on the staking, right? So if we start off with 10,000, I input into an algorithm just to randomize a whole bunch of percentages, right? So this obviously isn't accurate. It definitely did pick on the higher side with some of these, and it is right now, so it might be a good example, but I just wanted to make you fully aware that, you know, it definitely doesn't have to be as high as this for Cosmos. But hypothetically speaking, again, market cap staying the same as it is right now, and we're starting with the current circulating supply, $7,500 in 2 years, and then 7 years, $4,250. So you've lost over 50% in this case. So yes, inflation is a real bugger. And I think those of you who, and I feel really sorry for you in third world countries, right, in underdeveloped or developing countries, you know this firsthand, right? Hyperinflation is a B word, right? So what does help in this case? People always say, hey, look, burn rates, burn rates, burn rates. But guys, burn can be bad, especially when burn is too much. But in this case, it can definitely help bring that, you know, crazy inflation rate down for especially the networks like Cosmos, right? So do these protocols have burn rates? Well, yes, they do, right? So Solana has 50% on every single transaction, which is actually great, okay? But we're looking at per transaction here. So what actually is the mechanism to bring in or reduce that sort of dilution, okay? For Polkadot, it's got no burn rate, but an equivalent different mechanism, and this is something a lot of you have to understand in crypto, it's not just so black and white all the time, is they have crowd loans, right? And the crowd loans reduce the circulating supply for approximately 96 weeks. And then, of course, I think it's every few weeks, there's a new parachain coming on. So there's, you know, unlocking and locking again of DOT tokens. And after a few cycles, after the 100 parachain cycle through a few times, this will begin to raise and raise and raise. Okay, so it will get more and more and more and ultimately suck up the supply, therefore the price will easily go up, right? The tokens are out of circulation. Near Protocol actually has a whopping 70% burn rate on every single transaction. We'll circle back to this in just a minute, right? Over here, CSPR, okay, they have nothing. I guess in a way you can claim staking. Every protocol has staking or bonding as a form of bonding or burn, should I say, because you're taking those tokens out of circulation. I think we're reaching for straws here, guys, but I thought I'd definitely mention that, okay? And over here for Cosmos, right now it's 0%, so just like Polkadot and CSPR, but they are proposing, or at least the communities, you know, there's definitely talks that they want to actually increase that to 50%. So it's not final. I don't even think it's actually a formality at this point, but I thought I'd mention it. So how do we beat this? How do we get rid of inflation and kind of what does this all mean? Well, the trick is, especially in a bear market, i.e. right now, is to either stake, delegate, or become a validator in your chosen networks. And this is why it's important to have conviction, because if you actually like the network and believe in what they're doing, hey, you might want to save up to become a validator. After all, these guys have the highest rewards. Let's discuss, right? Staking, okay, is technically the safest method. It's the safest, but given it's the safest, it also has the lowest APY rather, right? The lowest possible rewards. Now, this is typically through third parties, okay? So, you know, staking platforms and centralized exchanges, okay? And what they typically do, not always, but what they sometimes do is use your tokens and actually put them onto their own sort of node on that network. That's how they kind of get those rewards in to pay you, okay? But they take quite a large commission and obviously give you the leftovers. So yeah, you are getting free tokens. You're not susceptible to what we're going to talk about in just a second, like slashing, dangerous aspects of this. But you know, you're getting a lot less returns. In my opinion, is that the best thing? Well, typically you'll still find that a lot of the networks that you stake on, you'll still lose money, okay? And if you aren't, a lot of the time the protocol's losing money, therefore that's indicating it's not a good network. Let's move on, okay? Because we can get quite technical here. Delegation, okay? So this is mid-risk, and this is what I actually prefer. So again, it is mid-risk though, and it's cutting out these guys, the middleman, right? And staking, bonding, or nominating, one of those three words is commonly used in this case, your tokens to a validator yourself, okay? So you go ahead and there's typically validator pools or validators you can find on the network. They'll have a validator page or whatever it might be called, right? Node page. And you go and you can pick which one you like. Typically they'll have a reputation score so you can see how well they're behaving. Obviously lower the worse, higher the better. And you see that they're active and how many other people have delegated towards them. There's a whole heap of metrics, but ultimately you have to decide in this case who you're staking to. Now you can definitely stake or delegate to centralized exchanges. A lot of them do have nodes on these networks, so do, you know, other sort of large, you know, Web 2 enterprises, but that's obviously you taking a safer route because typically they will take a larger cut in that case. So obviously the more risky, typically they'll give you more commission and take less for themselves, but that's also very scary because there's sometimes a reason why they want to sucker you in, okay? or they're not as trustworthy, right? Now, again, second highest APY, and it's always done on the network. One thing you'll always hear me preaching is, look, if you're going to stake your tokens or delegate your tokens, in my opinion, you may as well do so on the network. Don't use third-party websites, because my philosophy is, if that network were to crash, go down, never be used again, would you rather have your tokens on that network, and ultimately, if you weren't fast enough to get them off that network and swap them out or sell them, well then, hey, you're not really care too much because they're worthless anyway, right? Contrary, if you were to go to a third-party website and stake or delegate or do whatever you want to do on that third-party website, and the third-party website screws you over and the network is still running, that is really adding insult to injury. So that is my philosophy, and hopefully you guys understand what I'm saying. The last one is validating yourself, okay? This is extremely high risk because you literally have no one to cry to if anything goes wrong, okay? You're hosting your own node on the network itself. Yes, you do get higher rewards. Sometimes it is actually a lot higher rewards. It's the highest barrier to entry. You usually have to pay thousands of dollars to either host a node on a virtual server, like a cloud, for example, or you have to go and pay for lots of, equipment to run the validator 24/7. Usually very expensive hardware, as I just mentioned, and high bandwidth. You either have to have very fast internet speeds because you can't go down or have to process lots of transactions, or you just have to, constantly be online. So you don't want to risk getting slashed. If you're slashed, you actually lose some of your tokens, which we're going to talk about in just a second, right? So this is what you have to be mindful of in this case, okay? Because by this point, you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, Kyron, this is starting to make sense, right? I don't want to lose my money, right? Essentially with these networks, this is what happens. It's not overnight, but it definitely does happen, right? And if you're sitting idle like we are in a bear market for years and years and years, you definitely want to make sure you're, staking, so you're actually, fighting inflation, but also getting some tokens back. How good is that? You might save an extra $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 and then make some, which is awesome. Okay, so you definitely want to make sure that, yes, you understand that and how to do it. But again, there are some sort of nuances to what we're doing here. Number one is unlock times, right? So in a bear market, this might not be as important. However, as we approach a bull market, be very careful of how long it'll take to unlock your stake/delegated tokens. You gotta stay liquid, guys. Sometimes it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month. If you say, hey, I want to take my tokens out of the network now and stop bonding, staking, whatever, okay, you gotta wait 1 month. Wow, what if the bull market's kicking off, or what if some bad news happens? So be fully prepared and aware, guys, right? Number two, slashing rate/penalties. Is slashing enabled? And if so, how much percent is the node slash of its stake tokens, right? Is it 20%? 50%, 10%. Ensure you know this if you delegate/host and who you're delegated to. Very simple. I kind of explained this before, right? And the last one is payout rate. So be mindful that some validators will reward you less and take a larger cut, or what's called a commission, like many centralized exchanges, as I again explained earlier. Now, this is because they know you understand that they are a so-called safer choice and are less likely to misbehave, or essentially just called B/. So very simple. Guys, let's take this up a notch and run through each protocol as some examples, as they're all quite unique, which is good because it's going to give you guys a very good understanding. Now, I don't have much time to talk too much more in this video, so let me be very, very brief here. Let's start with Solana, and I've highlighted them green because, in my opinion, it's fantastic. I love what they've done here with their inflation model. Again, they have 50% of every transaction burned as well, so this will be reduced, okay? So again, $10,000 today, in 2 years, $9,250. Not too bad. Okay, we're still losing $750, but it can definitely be worse. And over here, 2030, look at this. It's dropped dramatically. Pay attention to these numbers, guys, because the other ones are going to be a lot more than this. And that's thanks to their diminishing or disinflationary rate, right? Every single year, the 5% or whatever it currently is for that year, 15% of that rate is reduced every single year, okay? So a helpful tip, if you stake, you can ride the wave out until it gets quite negligible. Again, 1.5% is quite negligible. That should actually be 1.5%, not 1.75%, but you guys got the idea, right? It's quite negligible. It's quite low, insignificant, but you still definitely want to stake your tokens if you can, right? So can we slash? Yes, there is actually a slashing up to 50%. That's actually quite reasonable because a lot of networks are 100%, and this can be less for minor offenses like going offline. Yes, you can get slashed for going offline, which is very important because if you delegate your tokens to a node and they go offline, something happens briefly and they come back on, they might be slashed in some networks, so you have to check how severe it is. And therefore, if they're slashed, say 10%, you also get slashed 10% of your tokens. So you might wake up and be quite angry that morning, okay? Now, is there a reward for doing this? Now, I'm not going to look at running your own validator. I'm not going to look at staking. I'm not going to look at, putting your tokens up for collateral in like a DeFi application. I'm just looking at delegating because that's my personal opinion as my favorite optimal. It still, definitely has its risks choice. Okay. Currently, it's about 7%-ish. So that means you're kind of taking home about 2%. But again, be mindful because there are some validators out there that have less or some that have more. You do have to be very careful and do your own research. Now, NEA, we've given it a yellow, right? So NEA, over here, $10,000. If we cycle through $9,000 in 2025, again, not as good as Solana, but hey, for 5% year on year, what can you expect? Obviously, it's going to be a little bit more. Over here, 2030, as you can imagine, remember that number over there for Solana? Over $8,000, while we're about $1,000 less over here, okay? Now, this is a very helpful tip, guys. Pay attention. Now, just like Solana, again, they have a 50% every transaction burn fee. Over here, NEA Protocol burns 8% of every token as well, and that's actually 70% as I mentioned at the start of the video, and this will reduce the dilution of your tokens dramatically. That's quite a large amount, okay? And will be deflationary at 1.5 billion transactions per day. Yes, this will be eclipsed eventually when the network hits approximately 1.5 billion transactions per day. Right now, they're doing about 500,000, 3 to 500,000. So there's a long way to go, but if they pull off their whole vision and onboard 1 billion users to Web3, hell yeah, they'll be doing that no problem at all. And remember, the network's not even actually like fully live and succinct yet. So there's a very possibility this number jumps up to at least a few million in the short term, okay? Bullish on NEA Protocol, right? Do they slash? No, okay? NEA instead uses a node's reputation, making it harder to produce blocks, okay? So they're not like, oh, we're getting it slashed. No, if you misbehave, your reputation goes down, you have a less likely chance of producing blocks, therefore actually earning money, therefore no one's going to want to delegate to you. So that's important to look at, okay? Reward, yes, about 7.06%, so you're taking home about 2% average, okay? And the last one we look at is Polkadot, okay? So these guys at $10,000 today in 2025, look at this, massive hit. This was the end result of Solana, okay? It's nuts, 10% year on year, all right? Hits really hard. And look at this, half in 7 years. Those of you who are staking, or at least holding DOT, you need to definitely look at staking, bonding, whatever it might be, okay? Here's a helpful tip for you. Staking on Polkadot is mandatory, at least in my opinion, but the crowd loans definitely help keep the circulating supply low. Slashing, yes. Slashing, now this is yellow because it's average. Most networks do this because it makes sense. It's just standard, right? Up to 100%, obviously, if they try to do a double spend attack, if they actively, obviously, try to do harm to the network. Duh, right? Often 0% for going offline. So if they just fall offline for a bit, they can be added back on. They're frozen for a bit, so they can't do anything until they're proven that they're back and ready to go, which is fantastic. But if 10% or more of the nodes go offline at the same time, then everyone is slashed 7%. Rewards, yes, there is 14.85% right now for staking. So yes, you're actually taking home the largest amount here at 4.85%. So that's actually quite good for Polkadot. So yes, you definitely should be doing this for DOT because you're not just, fighting inflation, you're actually doing quite well. That's actually quite a good percentage, I must admit, right? So anyway, guys, that will do it for today's video. I hopefully, have inspired some of you to think more critically here and more so bear market territory. And hopefully, come the bull market, you guys tend to make decisions depending on those unlocked times for, when you're staking, delegating. All right, all. If you want to watch more, I have a video on your left on NEA Protocol and on your right, Solana. You guys know I've got plenty of videos on Polkadot as well. So go ahead and check those out if you want more. Until next time, guys, take good care of yourselves. Talk soon.